Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron TMHD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron TMHD, and this week we watched Saw X. So you can see there's the X there. This film is as you can guess, the 10th installment in the Saw franchise. You wouldn't have known. But yeah, this film is I think the actual, first mainline Saw film in I want to say 10 years, because we had Jigsaw and Spiral, but they were kind of doing their own thing. They weren't really mainline Saw movies, but this one is a mainline Saw movie, and that's great. And as a big fan of the Saw franchise, I think this is a huge breath of fresh air. One, because we have John Kramer throughout the whole thing, and it is a flashback, but it's not just one singular flashback in a movie where, there's another apprentice. No, we have John Kramer, and it's all about him. And it's probably his most personal most personal game ever. And I think it's just really, really great. But before I go on a whole tangent about how much I really, really like this film, I'll tell you why and more back at the house.
You will want to remain alert. This is not retribution. It's a reawakening. Live or die. The choice is yours.
Hello, viewers. I want to review a film. For years, you have watched Saw sequels. And inside this video, you'll find my thoughts on the newest installment. Watch or not, make your choice.
Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm Mr. Entertainment HD, and today we watched Saw X, as you can see right there. Just leave it there. That's good. But if you couldn't tell, if you couldn't tell, this is the 10th installment in the Saw franchise, starring Tobin Bell, and the first mainline Saw film since the final chapter, I want to say. Because really, Jigsaw and Spiral were kind of their own thing, spin-offs. Because Jigsaw was just called Jigsaw, and Spiral was kind of just not really anything to do with Saw. I mean, it had the traps and all, but it was just in the same universe. But this film took place, I believe, in between 1 and 2. I'm not completely certain. I believe it was. But I really enjoyed this film. And by the way, before I start the review, the full-on review, there will be spoilers for Saw X. So, I'm not going to talk about everything, but I'm going to talk about, the stuff that I liked. So, if you guys want, watch the movie, not be spoiled, as usual, go watch it, and come back. Back to the review. So, basically, I think this film is just a really, really good return to form for the Saw franchise. And I truly believe that it felt like a Saw film. It had that grime. It had that, torture porn feel to it. Because that's kind of how the Saw film franchise started, was with torture porn and stuff like that. It was a very popular genre at the time. And Saw was actually kind of the catalyst for maybe just the starter of the popularity of torture porn films. It was kind of it's like when you think of a torture porn film, you think of Saw, right? And you can tell it's successful because it's had fucking 10 movies. And, I'm a big fan of the Saw films, if you couldn't tell. Real big fan. And, I just think this film really scratched that itch that while I did enjoy Spiral, I didn't think it was more of a cop drama than really a Saw film, and Jigsaw I just wasn't a huge fan of. So I think this film really scratched that Saw itch that had been missing for so long. And it is, again, great to see Tobin Bell back as John Kramer, as Jigsaw. I think that's great. And, even though he's 81 now, getting up there, he's truly still living the role, man. Tobin Bell's great. Still the one and true voice of the Saw franchise, the face of the franchise. And, yeah, or I mean, you could count Billy, but, like, as person-wise, I feel like Jigsaw is the face. But, I really enjoyed this film. I think, as I said, the main thing I liked about it, it felt like a Saw film, you know? It had that grime, it had that, like, dirty feel to it, you know? Like, in dirty, I mean, like, you know, the camera, you know, the way the characters looked, that they had dirt and blood all over them, you know, they looked like they had been, like they were sweating, and they were, like, nervous, and, like, a mess. Looked great, and I just think overall the film was really, really enjoyable. And I think that it definitely, as they said, it is probably Jigsaw's most personal trap. Like, most personal game. Because, you know, they did something to him, right? They hurt him, right? Well, they scammed him. They conned him. Tricking him into thinking, well, talking about that, let's get into the plot. So, the basic plot of this film is Jigsaw has cancer. If you didn't know, Jigsaw has cancer in the films, and in this film, he is trying to get treatment for it. And there's this, and this guy tells him that is like at a cancer support group. He tells him, "Hey, I got this support. I got this like a treatment from this super crazy, super off the grid thing that like isn't even approved by the FDA, right? Which is already a red flag, by the way. But whatever." And you know, he tells him about it, and Jigsaw goes, and it seems good. But he later finds out that they didn't do anything, and they just tricked him. They took his money and they manipulated him. You know, they were bad. They like conned him and took advantage of, like, you know, his hope of survival. They took advantage of him, and then he captures all of them. Well, before putting one of them in a trap, getting information from him, and then capturing the other ones, putting him in I want to say like a warehouse. Was it like a warehouse? And all putting them in their own individual little traps. But as I said, like a lot of Saw movies like to do this nowadays, like the collage trap. I think ever since the Saw 2 nerve gas house, people really like the nerve gas house in Saw 2. They were all like, you know, we should just do collage traps from now on. Let's just all have collage traps. And I like a collage trap, but I just think that's like a lot of the Saw films nowadays are collage traps. But, not saying that's an inherent problem, I'm just saying it's just like I like individuals. But anyway, yeah, they put them all in traps, and all the traps are great. I don't think there was one trap I didn't like. I mean, maybe there was a couple traps I thought, like, could have been more visually interesting, but I think some of them were definitely, I think all of them were definitely creative. I just think some of them could have been better on the visual department. Because, you know, one thing about, I think the three things a Saw trap needs. One, I think it needs style, right? You want to know why the reverse bear trap is so iconic? I don't think it's just because, you know, it's the first trap in the Saw movie. Like, look at it. Like, just look at the reverse bear trap. Like, it's like this giant contraption on your face, and it's got, like, the mouth thing. It just has style. It has flair, you know? And I think, two, it needs to be beatable. Like, it can't be impossible. And three, it just like needs to be a good test, and it needs to align with the person in the trap, right, in some way. And I think for the most part, this film does that very well. And I think it's hard to pick a favorite trap from this film, but I think one of my favorites is definitely the second on-screen one, technically the first one of the collage and the one in the warehouse, with a girl named Valentina. She basically, what she has to do is she has to cut off her leg with this, like, precise, like, very sharp, medical bone saw, and she has to, like, cut her leg off, stick a fucking tube in her cavity or whatever, stick it in her leg, and get enough solids on, like, a spoon so that it'll weigh out, and that, you know, the bone saw around her neck will release and she'll be fine, I guess. But I guess she just won't have a leg anymore. But yeah, she nearly gets it. She chops off her leg, looks great. It's a definitely not CGI. It's a practical leg, and it falls off, and it looks great. And she has, like, this practical, like, stump,
and then she sticks the thing in the stump, and then it goes, and it nearly gets to the max that she needs, and then the time runs out, and her head gets cut off slowly by the bone saw, and like blood comes out, like it sprays everywhere. Not like blood fountain, but like it like starts spurting out, and it looks great. And it starts spurting out, and it looks great. And eventually, like, her head just rolls off, and then her body falls down. And it just looks great. Probably definitely one of my favorite traps in the film. Very, very, very good finish to it. And overall, just really gnarly. You know, like, really, you know, it makes you uncomfortable to watch. Like, all the traps in this film are uncomfortable to watch. And I think, like, that's what you kind of need in a Saw trap, right? Like, there's supposed to be... I think there's, like, a body horror aspect to it. You know, to like where you need to do this terrible shit to your body most of the time to survive, or you need to handicap yourself basically to survive. You know, it's eye for an eye, sacrifice something for your life. You know, that's the trade. But I think this film did all the traps very well, except for, I'm not going to describe this whole trap to you, but there is basically a trap where a character needs to get out of this trap, and the only way he can get out is by fucking cutting open his scalp, taking not just like his skin, by the way, like the bone, taking out the bone, and then showing his fucking brain, and taking a piece of his brain out of his head and in an enzyme tank to where it will dissolve, and it'll open the box with the key so he can free himself. I don't know about you, but I'd be like, at that point, just fucking kill me. Like, there is no way I'm gonna be able to do this. Like, one, the guy has a fucking iron will if he's able to cut open his head and take a piece... I don't even know how that would work. Take a piece of your brain out of your head. And then, like, I don't know. It just feels like even if theoretically he was able to put it in, it would dissolve, and then he would get the key and get out, how would he survive after that? Like, would Jigsaw just be like, we're gonna get you to the hospital. We don't need to explain why you have a giant hole in your head and a part of your brain is missing. That'll just be a part of the papers. No need to explain that. Like, I know that Jigsaw says he's not a killer, but I'm pretty sure this was just straight up murder. Like, I don't think there was any way for you to survive that. I like how he does say it's like, oh, well, you can survive without some parts of your brain. Sure, buddy, but I don't know if you can survive if you're lying on the floor of a damp, dirty, abandoned warehouse where your head is just open. I don't know how long you can survive that for. But yeah, basically a death sentence. But that's just a small nitpick, right? Maybe. I mean, still, it's a bit of a problem because, you know, Jigsaw's all high and mighty about how, oh, I don't kill people. I give them the choice to survive, right? And if they don't have the will to survive, then they just won't. But I don't know if my will is strong enough to tear a piece of my brain out. I don't know, man. It's like the Venus flytrap in Saw 2. Like, if the point where I need to cut my eye out to survive, just fucking kill me. Like, you might as well just kill me. I'm not fucking doing that. But yeah, that's a little problem I have. But overall, I do think the rest of the traps were pretty survivable. And mainly it was because they either ran out of time, they wasted too much time, or they just didn't have the will to go. Like, they didn't have the will to do it, right? They just weren't built for a Saw trap. And overall, I just think that the film is definitely a breath of fresh air for the Saw franchise. And I definitely think that if the rumors are true about a Saw 11, definitely going to see that when it comes out after, of course, the writer's strike, you know. More power to ya. You know, you deserve the money. But anyway, Saw 11, if or when it does come out, definitely going to watch it because very excited. Very, very excited. I'm not going to spoil everything. Like, there is a post-credit scene after, you know, Jigsaw wins. You know, he outsmarts the evil orchestrator lady. You know, she's like, basically the whole villain, like, evil mastermind. Well, not mastermind. She's like an evil, maniacal, like, basically probably one of the most, I think, a really hateable character. Like, she's really hateable. She thinks she's, like, so smart and so great. She thinks she's fucking awesome. But it's really satisfying to see her get outsmarted at the end of the film by John, because obviously you can't outsmart Jigsaw. He's Jigsaw. But I think my main gripe is that she survives. I mean, maybe they did that so if Saw 11 does come out, she could have, like, a little redemption arc. Like, maybe she'll learn her lesson. Because that's the whole point of a Saw trap, is to earn, like, you know, purpose. You know, after, like, a near-death experience like this, you know, you learned your lesson. You know, you won't be, like, you know what I mean. Like, he's like a life coach, you know? Jigsaw's a life coach, in a way. Just, like, a very straight, like, you know, no-nonsense life coach. But, yeah. That's my main gripe, is also that she survives. I thought she probably should have died. She was a really annoying character. But, anyway, talking about all that, would I recommend this film? Yeah, I recommend this film. Definitely. If you're a Saw fan, for sure. If you're just getting into the Saw franchise, I'm not too sure. I feel like you should at least watch 1 through 4 first, to get the gist, because all these characters you don't really know quite yet. Maybe 1 through 5, no, 1 through 4, I believe. But yeah, I think you probably should watch 1 through 4, 1 through 5, to get a gist of the story, because there's a lot of characters in here, like Amanda, and big spoilers here for the post-credit scene, just letting you warn. Hoffman appears in the post-credit scene, so obviously if you don't know who that is, or you don't know Amanda, you just know her as the first, like, on-screen, you know, victim, you know, / like, student that he's teaching. I don't really think that you'd really know what's going on, or you'd really connect with Jigsaw, or his connection with Amanda, or his morals. Like, I think you really need to watch the first couple Saw movies. So, as a first Saw movie, probably wouldn't recommend it as your first Saw movie. But if you've seen all the other Saw movies, the first couple, definitely recommend it. Horror film fans, for sure. You know, like, even body horror, as I said earlier, definitely it's got some body horror aspects to it, with, like, the contraptions on the people's bodies, and, like, you know, all the, like, gore and stuff. And, you know, I don't know if this is for the everyday film goer. Like, it's definitely, like, extreme. Well, extreme to the point where, like, a lot of gore, a lot of blood. But if you can take it, for sure. But yeah, overall, would recommend it. And, what would I rate this film? I don't know if this is just recency bias or what, but I genuinely think this film's, like a light 8. Like a light 8. You know, I think this film is very enjoyable, very strong Saw film, and I think definitely can get a lot of enjoyment out of it if you're a fan of that kind of film, for sure. And, yeah, I think I've said all I need to say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, if you like this video, share, friends, subscribe, notifications on. Comment down below what you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. What I really meant to say was, if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike, tell me what you hate me in the comments. I've been Time HD, off to play a game. Signing off.